Welcome back to Up. House Republicans have published the findings of their investigation into the FBI and its handling of the Russia probe. In a letter sent to Acting Attorney General Matthew Whitaker and Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, Congressman Bob Goodlatte and Trey Gowdy said, quote, "Whatever product is produced by the special counsel must be trusted by Americans," but urged for a second special counsel. Meanwhile, President Trump's attorney, Rudy Giuliani, is calling for a probe into Robert. Take a listen.
They've investigated that exhaustively, both the counterintelligence probe that preceded it, which was, I think, completely illegitimate and possibly illegal, the infractions and unethical activity and to some extent behavior that almost approaches illegal did happen. And it happened on the part of the investigators. How about destroying the 19,000 texts of Strzok and Page right in the middle of their texting each other? We hate Trump. We're going to get Trump. We're going to prevent him from being president. We're going to have an insurance policy if he becomes president. That should be investigated fully. You want another special counsel? Get one for that.
Francesca, Glenn, Liz, and Kevin are back with me. Glenn, can you make sense of Rudy Giuliani for me?
No, I can't. You know, and people have heard this before, but in the criminal practice, we have a saying: when you have the law on your facts, pound on the law. When you have the the law on your side, pound on the law.
Yeah.
Facts on your side, pound on the facts. When you have neither on your side, just pound on the table. What we see is a whole lot of table pounding by Mr. Giuliani. The other thing that I see, and this is classic defense tactic, when they can't overcome the facts that are against them, they attack law enforcement, they attack the FBI, they attack the prosecutors. I've had it happen to me many times over the years. That is a sign of weakness by Giuliani and company, not a sign of strength. You know, he's so self-contradictory over time that, you know, again, the only thing he is contributing to the dialogue at this point is carbon dioxide.
Can both things be true? I mean, is he wrong to not want to know what happened to these 19,000 messages?
He's not wrong, but I don't think that is what the focus of the American people's concerns are right now. I mean, yes, we can go back and get other wrongdoers, assuming they did wrong, but right now we have to focus on who's running the country, who may have illegally conspired with a foreign power to undermine our free and fair elections and rob the American people of the full value of their vote, who may have tried to suppress damaging information from porn stars and Playboy playmates, again, in order to undermine free and fair elections. That has to be what we focus on now.
Giuliani has gone back. You talked about his inconsistencies. He said "over my dead body" a few times about President Trump having an in-person interview with Mueller, but then he also says they're still open and negotiating. He has an absolute position of "over my dead body," and then he says, "but maybe I might be dead." And then a very open position of, "well, they're still open, anything's on the table." What does that signal, you know, in terms of the strength or weakness of their position, or where things might actually be sitting? Any takers on trying to explain that little nugget?
Well,
Francesca,
I will jump in. I will jump in and say about, well, you were mentioning the inconsistencies.
Yeah.
Another big inconsistency was that he said there was never a letter of intent that was signed for the Trump Tower in Moscow. And then, of course, it comes out that there was a letter of intent signed and they had evidence of it. And then he comes back and says, well, I don't recall saying that there was never a letter of intent that was signed, which he did because it was on national television when he said that. And it was the president of the United States, then, you know, the head of the Trump organization, who even signed that. And so I've heard from sources that the problem with Rudy Giuliani at this point is that he's often acting as the spokesperson rather than an attorney for the president when it comes to these matters, and that could be very damaging for the president. These inconsistencies that Rudy Giuliani is making on television, regardless of what the president did or didn't do, Rudy Giuliani is introducing some uncertainty into the situation.
Francesca, you've reminded me of something. I think you might have something to say on this, Liz. We'll find out very soon. High anticipation. But you talked about him being a spokesperson. And you see this with Matthew Whitaker. You see this with Rudy Giuliani. You see this with many jobs in the administration now. they perform for President Trump
Right.
Yeah.
on cable news outlets, on right-wing cable news outlets. And so Giuliani maybe isn't being a lawyer. Is he more, is this how he talks to the president?
Right, right.
Is that his
have
audience
to,
there?
Because, yeah, you have to wonder, you hear him speak, and every time it seems like he's very confused, and you almost feel bad, like you just want it to end. And in a way, Giuliani also has been just lying over and over again. I mean, remember all of his comments around the Stormy Daniels case, which now we all know turned out to be wrong. Stormy Daniels was not lying. And in fact, we have information from the District of New York showing that Donald Trump is basically an unindicted conspirator, co-conspirator. So, of course, we're focused on Mueller. Of course, we want to know what is, going to be coming out of this investigation. But we already have an impeachable offense coming out of, every week, but also out of the District of New York. So you do have to wonder why there's so much focus on Mueller when we already have so much evidence already.
Glenn, I can see you out the corner of my eye. You got that donut. Good job.
Tasty,
You're a
very
real
tasty.
patriot. Can you tell us where we might be standing on impeachment? Do you have, additional insight to offer us there?
I actually am hopeful that Bob Mueller will take a long, hard look at indicting the president over and above impeachment. And here's why. If we let presidential candidates commit crimes to skew the election in their favor, they then get elected.
Right.
Can we not hold them responsible in a court of law? And doesn't that encourage more candidates to bend the rules or outright break them in order to get elected, knowing I can then hold up the presidential shield against prosecution? So once the Democrats take power in the House on January 3rd, I suspect we're going to hear about articles of impeachment pretty quickly. But even above that, I hope Mueller applies for an exception to the Department of Justice policy that says you can't indict a sitting president. That's only a policy memo. It doesn't have the effect of law. And as I've said recently, we revisit Supreme Court precedent. And that does have the effect of law, right? And if we didn't, we'd still be operating under, Plessy versus Ferguson, separate but equal. Horrific doctrine. Well, guess what? Societal norms change, we progress, and we say, we don't have to follow that anymore. And that's same with the memo.
And that the idea of not sticking to norms and protocols and policies is something that this administration is very familiar with. So they may have set the precedent that we're looking for. Thank you for that. Coming up, who's responsible for the death of a second migrant child? It's prompting questions as the Homeland Security Secretary pays a visit to the border today.